Hi guys, Steve Buchenroth back with you. What I'm trying to do here today is kind of pick up the next part of multi-engine aerodynamics, something that sometimes isn't well understood. Sometimes it'll surprise you a little bit to look at this. So let's take a look at, we're going to start off with taking a look here at takeoff distance, accelerate stop, and accelerate go distance in a twin Cessna 310. Now what I'm doing is I'm using the manual here, right here for the 1979 310R, and we're doing that to try to give us a little insight into what our takeoff distance would be to start off with. So if we took off fully loaded at 5,500 pounds in a twin Cessna 310, our takeoff distance is going to be roughly 2,910 feet. That comes right from the takeoff distance in the Chapter 5 performance page. Now, if we needed to stop, so we're going to, first off, I'm going to show that right here. That's 2,910 feet. If we needed to stop, it's going to be all the way up to 4,570 feet. That's if we pulled the power at VR and needed to stop. Throttle's idle, brake supply, pull it to idle, get all of the brakes around the runway, and we're going to make it right out to roughly this point right here. It's going to get us out to from 2009-10. We're going to get our accelerate stop distance out here to 4,570 feet. But what if we needed to go? Well, first off, it's really surprising when we look at the numbers on the accelerate go chart on any twin. This is where it really starts making some big numbers. So if we look at 5,500 feet, 5,500 pounds, and we're taking off at a pressure altitude of 2,000 feet. It's hard to believe, but we're not going to clear a 50-foot obstacle until 8,080 feet. So we can get us stopped. We see that. So there's our takeoff distance. We can get us stopped, but look at this. This is a 5,000-foot runway. What we've got marked out right here is a 5,000-footer. And if we are going to go well beyond the end of the runway, we're going to be clear out at 8,080 feet. Now, the minute we do this, we obviously have a hazard. I mean, we're going to go through the NW craft. One of the things we're going to do is our takeoff and landing distances. We're going to quickly cite a hazard and say, goodness, I probably can't do this. Well, maybe I can, but maybe I can't. So I'm going to identify this in my world right away as a hazard. But if I'm taking off on runway 7 out of Bellefontaine, I'm not about to do this on a 86-degree day. I think what we did here is we said it's 5,500 pounds, and we're doing 86-degree Fahrenheit with a pressure altitude of 2,000 feet. Because if I do this, my distance in order to be an accelerate go is 8,080 feet. I am not going to clear a 50-foot obstacle until 8,080 feet. Holy cow. That's a bunch. So obviously it's a hazard. It may be a no-go. But if I'm in Nebraska and somewhere where it's flatlands, maybe the tallest thing in front of me for the next 3 miles is a corn stalk, a person might decide to go. The FAA doesn't regulate that. They don't even tell us whether we can or can't. We just have to run those numbers. We have to evaluate, and we have to determine if that's a hazard, if that's a risk we're willing to take. The hazard is clearly there. We are beyond the end of the runway, but do we want to take that risk? Well, or maybe there's another way to do it. Maybe I can look at it and say, well, what do I need to do? What can I do to move that back? Remember, we're clear out here. We're clear out here at this 80-80. What is it I could do to maybe take this 8,080-foot number and bring it back all the way past the runway? Maybe I can only offload a little bit of weight or something like that to bring it back. Well, let's take a look. And the method I teach, I don't claim to be the guy that taught this initially. I learned this probably 30 years ago at Flight Safety. I had an old gentleman that really knew what he was doing. He was so good. And he said, Steve, what can we do to make this work. So he used this WWAT. What can we do to make this work? Well, one thing we clearly could do is we could reduce our weight. Well, reducing weight might make a big difference. Or we could wait. We could wait for the winds to get higher. Could wait for the wind to get higher. Or we could wait for the density altitude to improve. And if the density altitude would decrease, maybe we could take off then. So at the end of the day, this is all about a compromise between two thoughts. One is we're either going to reduce our weight. We're going to lower the weight in the airplane, or we're going to increase our weight. We're going to increase the weight, or we're going to reduce our weight. So we can increase our wait time, or we can reduce our weight. So it's all about weight versus weight. If I decide to wait it out, maybe I'm fortunate enough that the density altitude will decrease, or maybe the wind will increase, or maybe I just have to flat out take weight out of it. So what I've done here is shown you that if I decrease the weight by 400 pounds, so let's look at what we've got here. This airplane, I loaded up the Cessna 310 with 163 gallons of fuel, max weight. Max amount of fuel. That's 978 pounds of fuel. That will last 5.8 hours. But we probably don't need 5.8 hours of fuel. There's a good chance we could break it up into two legs. I could maybe just go 96 gallons of fuel by taking out 400 pounds. So the thought here is I'm dropping the poundage down 400 from 978 to 578. That reduces fuel from 163 to 96. That causes the time available in the airplane from 5.8 hours down to 3.4 hours. So yes, I'm going to reduce the time, but look what this does to my ability. Look what on earth this does to my ability to bring this back inside an acceptable number. In fact, if I take just 400 pounds out of that airplane, it takes my accelerate go distance all the way to here, to this number. Now that's amazing because we went from a number of 8,080 feet for an accelerate go distance, 3,000 plus feet, 3,100 feet beyond the end of the runway, all the way back to an accelerated go distance of 4,230. We cut it almost in half just by taking 400 pounds out, which is pretty amazing. Now, that's wonderful that we can take 400 out and drop it back. But let's take a look. That means if I decide to put an extra person and bags on, and I'm still at gross weight or under, I may have just drove it all the way back out to 8,100. So this is just one of the things to really think about. So let's review this. We are taking off. We're taking off out of an airport at an elevation of 2,000 foot pressure altitude, 5,500 pounds, and we've got a 2,910 foot takeoff distance. Nothing wrong with that. Now, if I want to stop, I can get it done in 4,750 feet. But if I've now took off, lost an engine, took off, and continued, I'm going to be all the way out to 8,080 feet before I can cross a 50-foot altitude above the ground. Just by merely taking 400 pounds out of it, that drives it all the way back to 4,230. Now, let's take another look at this here. Let's see if I did take the 400 pounds out, how does it affect the other things? Well, I already kind of preloaded this number right here. So if I took that 400 out of it, then basically what I have here is a line that looks more like this and this. So you can see that our takeoff distance to stop distance, that slope is about the same slope whether I'm hot and heavy or whether I'm hot and down 400 pounds. But you can see the massive change in accelerate go. Accelerate go on the first one is clear out here. Accelerate go on the second one is clear over here. So the FAA looks for us to use our judgment to say, hey man, I have now entered a hazardous area. I am now taking a risk. Do I want to live with this risk, or do I want to reduce this risk drastically, which I certainly would, by pulling it back below the takeoff distance? Again, you could continue, but you've got to make sure you have an official clearway, or that you at least are clear well beyond the airport inside the bounds of the accelerate go distance. Now, one other thing, what happens if we go to really cold and really light? So what I'm getting ready to show you is we took this airplane down another 800 pounds, from 5,100 pounds down to 4,300 pounds, and we did it at 14 degrees Fahrenheit. It's just kind of interesting to see this, because what we have right here is we have this number right here. So my takeoff distance is, I gotta look it up real quick, on this kind of a cold day. I already preloaded it, but I want to give you the exact number here. The takeoff distance right here on a cold day like this at 14 degrees Fahrenheit is 1190. 1,190 is where we're at right here, 1190. All right, and then that's the takeoff distance. The stop distance is now at, again, 14 degrees Fahrenheit. The stop distance on this airplane is right around 2060 right here. So we can see that, again, that line lies pretty darn parallel to the other line. So the slope stays about the same, but take a look at what happens to accelerate go. Accelerate go is now actually below accelerate stop. Accelerate go is less than accelerate stop. So if I'm cold and light, we hit accelerate go before we would hit accelerate stop. If I'm hot but not quite as heavy, accelerate go is, of course, past accelerate stop. But if I'm hot and really heavy, accelerate go goes off the charts. So I hope this helps you out. Just to review a couple more things, you can see there's our 80-80 accelerate stop distance. Our landing distance was 1,880 feet. Our multi-climb rate at 824. But if I lost an engine, we're now down to 250 feet per minute. So at the end of the day, it's all about the weight of the airplane versus, are you going to weight WAIT or not? And the only place you're really going to get the improvement is out of an increased headwind, or you're going to get an improvement out of a decrease in density altitude. Outside of that, it's going to be weight. I hope this little graph helps you out, and thanks much and have a good day. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching our videos. If you like what you see and it helps you out, by all means, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel. And if you're interested in flying with Midwest Corporate Air, just take a look at our website. The information we need is on there, and we hope to see you in the future. Thank you.